This is it, people. This is most certainly it. Without any shred of doubt in my mind, without the slightest hint of hyperbole in my upcoming comments, I can honestly say that WrestleMania 11 is, without a doubt, the worst WrestleMania of all time. I knew it was a piece of shit when I was 10 years old, and it's only gotten worse over time. You know, you thought 9 was bad, you thought 13 was bad, 15, 16, 2000, whatever the fuck it's called, 18, 25, whichever one you hate, you thought those were bad. It's got nothing on this. I don't think we will ever see another WrestleMania as bad as this one. The WWE would have to try to put on a show as bad as this. And honestly, I don't think they could do it if they tried. This was just a horrible display of awfulness from top to bottom. Just nothing redeemable about this show. I hate it so fucking much. And I knew I was going to talk about this WrestleMania at some point on the Rebooking WrestleMania Countdown. So I had to undergo a very strenuous preparation process before I did so. Now, once I crawled out from under my hangover and I realized I have to start planning this damn thing, I thought, okay, what part of WrestleMania 11 am I going to talk about here on the countdown? Well, how about all of it? It's so amazingly bad from start to finish. The whole thing needs to change. The matches are bad. The card was bad. The finishes were bad. The booking was bad. Everything just bad, 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 bad. Every last bit of it. So, take this piece of shit, throw it away, we're starting from scratch. Fuck you. First of all, let's start off with the opening match, shall we? WrestleMania 11 kicked off with Lex Luger and the British Bulldog, named the Allied Powers, taking on the Blue Brothers, the first of many gimmicks that the Harris Brothers would have over the years. Now, I didn't care. Why? Because as far as I know, the Blue Brothers had never been on television prior to WrestleMania 11. If they were, I didn't see it, and they weren't enough of a presence to really give a damn anyway. So why would you kick off WrestleMania with such a lackluster match right off the bat? My choice to open up, 1-2-3 Kid versus Hakushi. 1-2-3 Kid, an exciting young cruiserweight wrestler who, strangely enough, didn't have a spot on the card outside of being Razor Ramon's corner boy, could have opened up the card very nicely. These two actually opened up the show at SummerSlam 95, and that was actually a pretty good match. So, yeah, just let the two cruiserweights go out there and have a hell of a show. Now, to be fair, I don't recall if Hakushi was with the company at this point, but let's just say 1-2-3 Kid versus anybody. You could have gotten some random, like, cruiserweight guy, and at least let them have, like, a cool, high-flying match instead of this boring tag match that nobody really cared about. Razor Ramon versus Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental title. Now, to be fair, this match was probably the match of the night at WrestleMania 11. It was not a terrible match, although if you've watched Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett as long as I have, and if you've seen them wrestle each other, you start to see that, wow, all their matches are eerily similar. They have the same exact match over and over and over again. And the match at WrestleMania 11 was no different. They had the same exact match at the Royal Rumble 95. The problem here was the finish. How is it that the Royal Rumble match ends with the title change and a conclusive finish, and the WrestleMania match has a DQ finish? Bullshit. Give this match a finish. I don't care who wins. Just give it a damn finish. There's so many shitty finishes at this WrestleMania that I'm just pissed off talking about it. So yeah, just give these two a finish. Now we're rolling right on to the WWF Tag Team Championship, which at WrestleMania 11 was the Smoking Guns versus Owen Hart and Yokozuna, who Yokozuna was Owen's mystery partner. Now, to be fair, the Owen and Yoko duo turned out to be not terrible, but this match was not very good, particularly the finish. What went wrong with the finish? I have no idea. Go back and watch it. I think Owen and Yoko forgot who was supposed to score the pin and win the titles, and it was just this really awkward finish. Just poorly worked. See, that you can't blame that on the booking. That was the fault of the wrestlers not knowing what they were doing. But, yeah, what tag title match to put in this place? Well, I've got other plans for Owen and Yoko in my new card. So instead of doing this match, I would do Smoking Guns versus the Allied Powers, Lex Luger and British Bulldog. Bulldog and Luger on paper wasn't a terrible team, and Smoking Guns needed somebody to work with, and sure as hell wasn't going to be the Blue Brothers. So, yeah, just take the opening match, take the baby faces of that match, put them into the tag title match here against the Guns, and let them have a good match. Another match that occurred at this WrestleMania was The Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy, and it was a piece of shit. One of the worst of The Undertaker's streak. Probably second only to Boss Man in the Hell in a Cell at 15, but yeah, this sucked. And guess what? The finish blew. Undertaker beat Bundy with, I'm not kidding, a jumping lariat. That was the finish to the match. That's how Undertaker beat a 450-pound man. Bullshit. What I would have done instead, well, I've got other plans for Undertaker, which I'll get into later. But Bundy, I would have put him up against another big man to do the novelty WrestleMania big man match. Wouldn't have been like the greatest match ever, but it would have been a novelty. Who to put in that place? Either Mabel or Yokozuna. Probably Yokozuna, because I think the match would have been better. Wouldn't have been a great match, but again, Taker could have been used better than this. So there you go. I'll get into that in a little bit. Oh, we got a stinker here. Bret the Hitman Hart versus Bob Backlund in a submission match with Roddy Piper as the guest referee. Now, anybody who saw the match that these two had at Survivor Series 1994, they saw a hell of a match. It's one of the best technical matches I've ever seen, and I think it's a forgotten gem. Go back and watch it. I swear to God, it's awesome. But then we get to Mania, and the match sucks. And apparently, yelling incoherently into a microphone constitutes quitting. Yes, another bullshit finish at this Mania. There's a lot of them. God... What to do differently here? Well, again, I've got other plans for Bret, but I really like Bob Backlund's heel character. I totally bought into it, and I thought this psycho, bitter heel that felt like he was screwed out of the title and just became insane over the years. I thought that was an excellent character and a perfect repackaging for Bob Backlund. So there was definitely a role for him to play at WrestleMania. So what to do? Why not do Backlund versus Piper? Two insane personalities going at it in kind of a, legend versus legend match or something. Again, I'm not saying it would have been the greatest match in the world, but I think the character clash would have been excellent. I would have much rather seen that as opposed to the shitty submission match that we ended up getting. Now here's where we get into some of the bigger revisions. The World Heavyweight title match for this pay-per-view was Shawn Michaels versus Diesel. With Diesel as champion, Shawn is the Royal Rumble winner. I did not have a problem with this match taking place because there was a natural feud between the two that stemmed from their former partnership and Diesel getting the spotlight over Shawn or whatever. So it was alright, that stuff was fine, but the match just wasn't very good. Number one, Diesel sucked as champion, especially as a babyface. He wasn't ready to win the title. He was like, the way he won the belt out of complete nowhere, it was like a precursor to Sheamus or Jack Swagger. And it was just shitty. He just did not work as World Heavyweight Champion, and it made for, in my opinion, a pretty lackluster main event. A lot of people I talked to seem to like this match, but go back and watch it. It's not that good. It's kind of sloppy, and again, shitty finish. Shawn Michaels landed on his feet and fell backwards on the jackknife. See? If that's the saving grace of this WrestleMania, which it is for some people, then it's not much of a saving grace, because I think it sucks. But, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this. I was okay with the match taking place. It just shouldn't have been the world title match because Diesel wasn't ready to be in that spot. Nothing against Shawn. It's Diesel who was the problem. So, do this match, no world title. I know that robs Shawn of his, winning the Royal Rumble and going all the way from one all the way to the finish, but whatever. Shawn would have his day, obviously, so it doesn't matter that much. Now, the actual main event to WrestleMania 11 was, and I'm not kidding here, Lawrence Taylor, former New York Giants linebacker, the greatest player to ever wear a Giants jersey, and probably the greatest defensive player of all time, Lawrence Taylor taking on Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, my feelings on this match. Number one, it's terrible. It's not a very good match. Lawrence Taylor did not belong in the ring, and it showed. He's not a wrestler. He's excellent football player, doesn't belong in the ring. He sucked. However, I don't blame this match for the downfall of WrestleMania 11, because as I've lined up, so many other parts of the show were so fucking terrible. So how can I blame Lawrence Taylor for the full downfall of this WrestleMania? But yeah, the match was still bad. I'm not going to excuse that. Terrible match. What I would have done instead, have Lawrence Taylor play a role, but have him be the guest enforcer of a match between Bam Bam Bigelow and an opponent. Now let's see, who was feuding with the $1 Million Team stable at the time and actually had a match on this WrestleMania? feuding with DiBiase's boys. Who was that? Oh yeah, it was The Undertaker, wasn't it? Wouldn't you people have much rather seen The Undertaker versus Bam Bam Bigelow? Don't you think that would have been a good match? Bam Bam Bigelow is a way more talented big man than Bundy was, and I think working with Undertaker would have been great. You would have had an X Factor in Lawrence Taylor to make this feel like a semi-main event match. It would have been great. I think it would have been much better than what we got. But, yeah. Lawrence Taylor, great football player. Bit of an idiot as far as his personal life goes, as most of you probably know, but definitely doesn't belong in the professional wrestling ring, and this was a very weak WrestleMania main event. But I'm not going to hate on it too much because it was the only match on this show that did what it was supposed to do, which is generate some kind of spark for this WrestleMania, because Lord knows it had nothing else going for it. Now, the world title match that I would have gone with for this WrestleMania would have been champion Owen Hart versus Bret the Hitman Hart. These two wrestled each other at WrestleMania 10. Owen won cleanly, and then he went on to win the King of the Ring. But when the title was on the line, he could not beat Bret. He couldn't beat his brother. So he would have had to come up with a master plan to get the title off of Bret and then beat whoever that champion is for the belt. That happened at Survivor Series 94. He helped Backlund win the title in that awesome match. Now, all that got thrown out the window when Diesel won the title in 7 seconds, which was stupid, and because Backlund got thrown out the window. Owen became directionless, and Bret kind of was stuck working with the loser Backlund, who lost in 7 seconds. So it was like a lot of things got destroyed by putting the belt on Diesel. And what I would have done from there, Backlund defends the title against Owen. Owen wins. Then at the Royal Rumble, you have Owen versus Diesel for the title. Shawn costs Diesel that match because he's jealous of Diesel having the spotlight. So that sets up that non-title match at WrestleMania 11. And then in the Rumble match, you have Bret Hart winning it, last eliminating Bob Backlund, giving closure to their feud, and setting up the brother versus brother main event at WrestleMania 11. And yes, I would have had the title match close this WrestleMania. I think it would have been an awesome match, and I think it would have been a nice payoff or closure to a year-long storyline. Now, a lot of people have said that Owen was one of those guys that could have, should have, would have been a world champion. I feel like by the time he had his accident and died, 99, the years leading up to that, 97, 98, I think the chance to put a world title on Owen had passed. But if they were going to do it, 94, 95, like the early stages of his heel turn, maybe even 96, would have been the time to do it. They didn't, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think this would have been a better option for a world title match at WrestleMania. Maybe that's just me being a Bret Hart mark, I don't know, but it's how I feel. Now, am I going to sit here and say that my version of WrestleMania 11 would be perfect or would have been excellent and would have been one of the best WrestleManias of all time? No, not at all. I think the WWF's creative status was so poor at the time that there was no way they could have pulled off an excellent WrestleMania, and the roster wasn't up to snuff either. All I'm saying is that my card is... It would have been at least average, I'll say that. It would have been better than what we got. And I gotta say, it is absolutely astonishing that there actually exists a WrestleMania where Shawn Michaels, in a world title match no less, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker all had matches on the card, and they didn't deliver, and the Mania sucks to high heavens. It is absolutely amazing. It is astonishing in its badness. WrestleMania 11 never ceases to amaze me, but... yeah, I'm done with that, and we've still got one more to go on the countdown. Let me start getting ready.